Hello and welcome to the Food for You and the Planet podcast, brought to you by Healthy Plan Eat Online Farmers Market. I'm Dr. Rosemary Ostfeld. Together, we'll hear from leaders in environmental science, agriculture, medicine, nutrition, entrepreneurship, and more. Subscribe to hear all the latest in healthy and sustainable food solutions. Today's episode features David Finlay, owner of The Ethical Dairy. David is renowned for his innovative and sustainable approach to dairying. As an early adopter of organic farming, he has led the movement in Scotland and the UK, integrating agroecological practices, renewable energy solutions, and forward-thinking dairying systems such as calf-cow contact dairying. His commitment to sustainability is evident through his work on soil and pasture management, wind turbines, and biodigesters, winning him multiple accolades, including 2006 BBC Farmer of the Year Award. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today, David. It's nice to have you here.
A pleasure, Rosemary.
All right, so let's start off. What is the ethical dairy and how did it begin?
The ethical dairy it is actually a brand name for the cheese that we make on the farm here. But we were talked into calling it the ethical dairy cheese because we could substantiate the claim that it was produced in an ethical fashion, and I think we'll come to that in the discussions. And that date, it's only maybe about 7, 8 years ago that we launched the brand.
How did you become interested in sustainable food and agriculture?
I think it was back about 30 years ago. Farming was having a hard time, and we're looking at alternatives. And we went to visit various farms that were doing different things like organic, and we got quite taken with the organic idea. And the prices were very good, very attractive at that time because there was a scarcity. And everybody was looking for organic. It was a very sought after product at that time. But so that started us on that journey. And it then introduced us to people who were talking about things like climate change, biodiversity loss, diffuse pollution, animal welfare. So that whole kind of worms opened up, and yeah, we got quite concerned about the way the planet was going.
Why are organic and regenerative farming practices important?
We've now been in this organic agroecological journey for almost 30 years now, and what we've discovered is that we can produce affordable, accessible food, safe food, without trashing the planet and causing misery. So it's a win-win, but we need to get scale. We need to get more farmers involved, and once you get scale, you can reduce the cost of production, costs of supply, and make it very much more accessible to all and sundry rather than just to maybe the better off.
How were animals traditionally raised prior to the industrialization of the agriculture industry?
Well, that's a good question. Um, we actually have a dairy farmer who died recently, but he was a historian as well, and he wrote books. And he had a book called the History of Milk in Scotland, and he claims, and I'm sure it's quite true, that back even 130, 40 years ago, so in the late 1800s, in the cities in the UK, and there were dairies which had 1,000 cows in them. They were called city dairies. So that was an industrialization process because they wanted milk and they wanted it to be fresh and available, and the roads were so bad and the infrastructure was so poor that it had to be produced on site. And that was a system that came from America, believe it or not. So Industrialization is not new. It's maybe has been it has been perfected more in recent years, but it's that intensification, industrialization is not a new phenomenon. Um, uh, and prior to that, it was just very small herds producing local milk for local people.
How are most dairy farms operated now?
In this area in Scotland, we're in one of the most intensive unit areas for dairy in the UK, and we've many dairies with several thousand cows now. Again, it's following the American model of intensification. And that's the direction we are taking in terms of agroecological farming and cow with calf contact is very much in the opposite direction to the trend.
What does having an ethical dairy mean to you? And how do dairy cows and calves live on your farm?
The ethical dairy, it's more than just cow with calf contact. It's also over the 30 years of this journey that we've been on, we've discovered that, and this is now supported by a lot of good science globally, that but by not applying fertilizers and pesticides to our soils, to our fields, by having diverse pastures on the farm that are rich in nutrient and herbs and clovers and as well as a variety of grasses, that the root zone, and you know, there's some very good stuff coming out of America as well on regen ag. The root zone is a very healthy area now that we don't put these pesticides on, and we're getting the microbes in the soil are working with the plants and feeding the plants with nutrients that are unavailable to those plants. So we've got this symbiosis going on in the soil. And what we're finding that then feeds through into the plants. So the plants are nutrient rich. We were always having to feed minerals and vitamins as supplements back in the days when you used fertilizers and pesticides and monocropping ryegrasses. We no longer have to supplement our animals with minerals and vitamins because there is sufficient in the forage on the farm, and that's quite remarkable. And that's what we find. We find the whole system works so well as you move towards a more natural basis. So harnessing these natural processes um, works as well as it did before without all the pollution that was causing. Surprise, you know, we shouldn't be surprised because it was doing fine before we came along.
Can you tell me a little bit about the book that you and your wife wrote and the upcoming film involving your farm?
Sure. Well, Wilma and I wrote a book about our journey to where we are now, and that was published 3 years ago now. But it's very relevant to the story, the journey, and it the book describes the system as well in a sort of a broad way, but it describes the system and the hoops that we've had to jump through to get to where we are. The film, and oh, and now Mr. Amazon stocks it, so it can be ordered online. The film is going through a process of going through these film festivals. So, and until it completes its journey through these festivals, various festivals around the world, it will not be available for public viewing and probably till later in the year. That we have actually we're in two festivals in California, I believe. One in late February and another one in early May. So, you know, we're being recognized as having something to say in America.
What's the name of the film? Is there a website for it, or how could people find out if they were curious?
It's the same as the same title as the book. The book is called A Dairy Story.
Why did you make the decision to have calves stay with their mothers? And what benefits could there be to farmers who may want to try this?
Well, what we found in this agroecological journey is that given time, the natural systems can be as productive, if not more productive, than the artificial system that we had before, using fertilizers and pesticides. And we thought, okay, can we do the same with the cows and calves? Can we get to a point where the cows and calves are as productive, but without separation, overnight separation, well, separation at birth, basically. And okay, yes, we've hit a few bumps in the road. Yes, it hasn't been easy because there's no map. We're making it up as we go along. But what we've found is that the productivity of the cow, and we have to change our mindset in this. This is a totally different system. Our mindset has to be, we have to step back and give the cow space. We've got to reduce any stress in the system as far as possible, because if a cow is stressed, she will not share her milk, and she's got a choice now. She's working with us, not for us, so she has a choice. And if that environment is stressful, she will not release her milk. So we have to create an environment in our dairy where the cow is prepared to share her milk with us. And that has been a learning journey as well. So what we're finding is that the cows are producing 25% more milk. The suckling and maybe the stress-free environment as well is allowing those cows to produce 25% more milk per cow. And the calves are growing more than twice as fast as when we were bucket rearing them with, well, it was formula milk originally, and then whole milk when we were organic. And they're drinking a lot of milk, of course, but they're growing twice as fast. So they're coming to maturity about 6 to 8 months earlier than they did before. That means that they're off the system as beef or for breeding, and that releases forage to allow us to increase the cow numbers by about 25%. So 25% more cows each producing 25, even 30% more milk per cow, even though the calf is drinking 1/3 of that milk. It has actually brought that milk to the table. And we've got 25% more cattle to sell out of the system. So the system itself is more efficient, more productive, and more profitable.
Can you tell me about the EU-funded project called Transform Dairy?
Yes, well, we're part of that network. And, um, going back 20 years when we started looking at cow-calf contact farming, dairy farming, there were no cow contact dairy farms in Britain, and there were just a couple of dozen on the continent. Since then, there are now over 30 now in the UK, and there are over 200 on the continent. Mostly at small scale. We're talking about 30, 40 cows mostly, but there's some up into the hundreds. Although I believe in Sweden there's somebody with 1700s going to try it, so good luck to that. Right. So transform dairy, the Europeans have realized that there's something is happening, that there is change coming about in the dairy system. And it's not huge funding, it's not a huge amount of money, but they have put money towards investigating the systems that are being used, and getting farmers who are carrying out this cow-calf contact to talk to each other and to share their experiences and do some experimentation. So it's a token, but it shows that this is the European governments have realized that something is happening and they want to be part of it.
If other farmers around the world were to try to have an ethical dairy like yours, what steps would you recommend they take to help them on the ethical dairy path?
Yeah, the cow-calf contact dairy farming is a system change. It means that you have to have a mindset change. If you go into cow contact dairying with cow-calf contact dairying with a conventional mindset, it won't work. It won't work because it is just so different. It requires changes to your building infrastructures, to your pasture infrastructure, because you're dealing with calves and cows together, and the calves don't respect single wire fences anymore. You know, you've got so there's all kinds of changes to made. But the biggest change is your mindset, the acceptance that this is going to be you're going to have to work with the cows. You're going to have to transform. The cows themselves have to transform as well. When we first started, the cows didn't know what was going on. They got stressed, and didn't really. They didn't want to go into the parlor because every time they went into the parlor, they thought, "Well, this is are they going to take my calves away?" You know, like so. They so you've got to understand what they're thinking because they are sentient beings. So that it's a totally different approach to farming. But once it's get it working, we're 10 years in now. We would never go back. Never go back. Um, is that if you can see it working, because we're farmers, we're practical people, and if you go to a place where you could see the animals, how healthy they are, how productive they are, um, and actually see the infrastructure that's being used, that then you've got a chance. You've got a chance of making it work, and you've got to take the team. If you've got a team and they don't believe it's going to work, it won't work. Believe me. So you've got to have a team who think it can work and will work, and they're going to make it work. So you go visit a couple of two or three good working examples that have been in the game for a while, and it's yeah, it's transformative.
What do you see as the future of ethical and sustainable food and farming?
Well, my personal opinion is that it's the only way we can continue to produce food because the industrial model is unsustainable. It is causing so much mess and misery around the world. And we now know we can be as productive and more profitable with agroecological farming systems by harnessing natural processes. And you've got some very good examples in the States. I don't know so much on the cow-calf side, cow-calf contact, but certainly on the regen ag is very big over there. And congratulations on that. So that's a great movement. But yeah, I think it's the only way forward. So the only way we're going to come out of what's becoming a messy world. Yeah.
Are there any other thoughts that you'd like to share?
Um, yeah, I think, the guys who are working here came here because of what we're doing. Um, Dairy farms are finding it very difficult to find staff because the work is hard, it's tough, it's repetitive, and it's dirty, and sometimes dangerous. But working with the cows here, the guys get a buzz out of it. They feel good about it, and we get such good feedback from our customers that we all get, we feel good about what we're doing. So that's a big advantage. Yeah, big thing.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you for everything that you're doing to help animals and also to help the food and agriculture system really thrive. So thank you for joining the podcast today. I appreciate the work you're doing and your time.
You're very welcome, Rosemary, and have a good new year. And good new year to all your listeners.